military forces to countries like Mexico to crack down on drug cartels there. But
Speaking of using drug cartels as a sort of stand-in for people that America does not like, the other day, this regime murdered 11 Venezuelan civilians in a skiff in international waters off the coast of Venezuela. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Tren de Aragua. It may exist, it may not exist, but when you hear Tren de Aragua, or when you hear Cartel de los Soles, Cartel of the Suns, I believe the name of this supposed Venezuelan government drug cartel, which most likely does not exist. When you hear those things, think war with Venezuela, because that is what our enemies and the enemies of the people and duly elected government of Venezuela, um, that is what they want. That is what they've been working for, both the Biden and Trump administrations. That's what they've been working for years. Why? Because Venezuela refuses to allow itself to be a running dog of the United States. Do I support wholeheartedly everything the Venezuelan government does, has done, or will do? Absolutely not. I think to try to take over a chunk of Guyana is fucking stupid, but that is neither here nor there. When your country is in the process of preparing for war against another country, whether it be Cuba, whether it be Venezuela, whether it be wherever, your task as a communist in the imperial core is to do everything that you can to get that to stop. So, yes, hands off Venezuela. The affairs of Venezuela should be the affairs of the Venezuelan people and the Venezuelan people alone. And that is a basic anti imperialist sentiment. If you release statements talking about democracy of Venezuela when your country is literally getting ready to attack Venezuela and impose a puppet regime like Nayib Bukele's in El Salvador, like the main thing you should be doing is educating your coworkers, educating your family, educating everybody who matters to you. As many people, dozens of people, turns into thousands of people, turns into millions of people. And that is how we begin the process of stopping this bullshit. I remember the U.S. declared a man named Juan Guaido to be legitimate leader of Venezuela without any mass backing or even participating in an election. Yeah, that's what always happened.
I think he should look closer to home.
So this is Seth Harp, the author of the Fort Bragg cartel. He served in Iraq. He was a combat engineer. He was not a spicy boy like the people that he wrote about. But yeah, if you have not read the Fort Bragg cartel, like me and Comrade Numbers, who will be on shortly, you should. It will make you mad. It will make you sick. In many places, it will make you laugh. But yeah,
because there's at least 14 cases that I'm tracking of Fort Bragg trained soldiers who have been either arrested, apprehended, or killed in the course of trafficking drugs in the last 5 years or so, often in conjunction with those very same Mexican drug cartels. This is especially concerning because of what Fort Bragg is. It's not only the largest U.S. military base, but it's central to U.S.
Fort Bragg is named after a Confederate general, by the way. I don't know why you would name a fort, a military installation, after the guy whose ass you beat. Like, imagine a Fort Noriega, or imagine a Fort Hitler. Well, I could definitely imagine a Fort Hitler in the United States. But yeah, so he's talking about Fort Bragg. It covers more than 251 square miles. It's home to the Army's 18th Airborne Corps and serves as the headquarters of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, which oversees the 1st Special Forces Command Airborne in the 75th Ranger Regiment. Additionally, it houses the 82nd Airborne, U.S. Army Forces Command, U.S. Army Reserve Command, and Womack Army Medical Center. So yeah, SOCOM, well, USA SOC. They love their acronyms. They also have a very, very dystopian looking. These people love Latin. It's a very dystopian looking, like, badge, emblem, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, these people are fucking weird, and they also traffic drugs, and they also murder people. So yeah.
Home of the 82nd Airborne Division, which is the United States' main contingency force. It's also the headquarters of the Green Berets, the Special Forces, as well as the Joint Special Operations Command, which includes Delta Force, which is
That's JSOC.
That's JSOC. That's the most secretive and elite component of the U.S. military. And as you said, there have been some members of Delta Force who have been involved in trafficking drugs recently.
So you begin this book with the discovery of 2 bodies. Tell us when they were discovered and who those men were.
In December of 2020, 2 dead bodies were found on a remote training range at Fort Bragg. One of them was a member of Delta Force. They had both been shot to death. And the limited information from police at that time was that it was believed to be a double homicide from a drug deal gone wrong. The other person who was killed at that time was Timothy Dumas, who was a support officer, a logistics officer for JSOC. The other one, the Delta Force operator, his name was Billy Levine. And my book mostly is, or at the core of it, it's an investigation into who committed these murders.
So Billy Levine, Delta Force. Talk about the Delta Force operations. And you just mentioned that people are being killed.
He also later on in the book, he talks about this really weird case about Lieutenant Colonel Phoenix Condor III.
Good evening.
Hello, Lieutenant Colonel Phoenix Condor III. Am I in trouble? Am I about to be shot in the back of the fucking head or something?
Oh, we do things a little differently around here.
Oh, are you gonna give me acid? I've never tried acid.
Oh,
Are you gonna give me acid?
I think we're gonna get a little loose and frisky on the BZ,
Oh, okay, cool. But I was
which
just
is
about to.
you know
What?
BZ, right?
What are you about to do to me?
Well, if it's any consolation, you definitely won't remember, even if you survive. We'll talk about BZ in a minute, I guess. How you doing, man?
All right, how are you doing? So, yeah, I was just about to talk about Enrique Roman Martinez because this kind of like stuck out to me. So he was a working class Chicano kid from California, and he joined the military. He was a paratrooper, but this kid was like skinny. Like in another life, this guy would be a DSA member, but but like, and he was into acid. Like he was selling acid on the base. He was like the acid. He was like the acid plug at Fort Bragg. And dude, like they went camping because there's a lot of like beaches and shit. So he went camping on the beach, and dude ended up with his head being severed with an axe. Like this fucking kid joined to go like give his family an income because he was from an extremely poor family. And yeah,
Yeah,
it was yeah, just looking at pictures of him, like they still haven't found out who did the guy. And just like looking at pictures of him, like, damn, this guy could be a member of Liberation Caucus in another life. But um
absolutely has the phenotype.
you said what?
Absolutely had the phenotype.
Yeah, he does have the Liberation Caucus phenotype. I don't know why we have so many Latino comrades, but I'm here for it. So, uh, this is not an actual lieutenant colonel, by the way. He's another comrade from Liberation Caucus. We don't recruit high-ranking Army officers, to my knowledge. But so you've also been like locked into this book for the past couple weeks, yeah?
Yeah, shout out to anyone who's online. This is my first time on the internet in this capacity. So if
It's
I'm
your first
talking to
time on the
myself,
internet? Okay,
it's my
boomer.
first time on the internet. I usually, do my operations from inside of a highly secure, no transmission in, no transmission out facility type setup. But yeah, I mean, this book, I've been following the stories and Seth Harp's publications and stuff on this through just like where he prints it, Rolling Stone, and podcasts he goes on. So there was some content in here that I was already familiar with through his work, but in general, having it all laid out, having the new stuff, and having some of the historical and political framing for it, uh, was still a pretty big deal to me. Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. And by cool, I mean terrifying.
HBF, like this book will make you more like if you're already paranoid, like if you're already like a hard leftist, this shit will make you like more paranoid than you already were. Um, like they literally like he did many interviews with like ex operators or the spouses of operators, because like another thing that happens routinely at Fort Bragg is uh spouse killing. Like so many partners of soldiers that are based in Fort Bragg end up dead. And that is they're making this into a movie, well, a series, by the way. I wonder if we're gonna get bit parts. But like so much fucked up shit happens here that like it's I guess the closest comparison would be like, well, there is no comparison. Like Fort Bragg it's a thing of its own. Like,
I mean, we can come up with comparisons, but I think the only things that come close are things directly in that milieu, where like when you read about, the actual short abridged lives and deaths of like cartel hit teams or whatever, who in many cases spin directly off of the American or Mexican special forces milieu. Like the drug use, the sexual violence, the suicide, the murder, both, like, I mean, meaning among themselves. That's the type of thing I was thinking about reading this book. And again, it's like it hardly feels appropriate to even say that that's a point of comparison as opposed to just another node on the bureaucratic org chart that we're looking at here.
yeah, definitely agree. And you want to talk about the like dialectical materialism teaches us that everything's connected. Like a kid in North St. Louis conking out because he had a fentanyl overdose. It's directly tied back to shit that this country was doing in Afghanistan. Like there's literally pictures of, like, you go back to 2012, 2013, you've got soldiers that are standing in fields of opium poppy. And the Taliban, uh the first time that they took over the country after the collapse of the Soviet backed government, they first one of the first things they did was ban the growing of opium poppy. It's like, look, we understand y'all do this for a living, but this is haram. You cannot do this anymore. You got to grow wheat, grow wheat, grow shit for people to eat.
Yeah.
And as soon as the puppet regime that was installed by the United States after the invasion of Afghanistan in 2001, one of the first orders that this president that this president, who was also a major drug trafficker, like the Karzai regime, like
Oh my God.
it was basically a mafia. So,
I mean, people talk about the term narco state, and it's like
yeah,
that actually applies here.
it was literally like everybody from Hamid Karzai to his brother on down to the guy working the border patrol with Tajikistan was
Yeah, like the motor pool, like guy
yeah,
pumping gas into a 2-ton truck kind of thing.
yeah, everybody was wrapped up in drugs. Everybody, like everybody. There were no clean people in Afghanistan. And one of the first orders that Hamid Karzai passed um shut up was for the legalization of the growing of opium again. And he got a bag. Like when he fled the country, like he
Oh,
was very. He already had his mansion prepared. He was like, "Hey, I'm coming." Yeah, and like that's how all these narco dictators are. Like they drain so much from the country. Like you look at all these famines, you see TV and you see all these kids laying around in the streets, living outside, not having a place to stay. You see elders in the streets missing legs, eyes, not having shit to eat. Because all of these countries have huge amounts of natural resources. In a just world, there is no reason why Afghanistan should be poor. There's no reason why Myanmar should be poor. There's no reason why Mexico or Colombia should be poor. But the United States government, the government under which we are forced to live, they do not want a rich Mexico. They do not want a rich Myanmar. They do not want a rich Afghanistan. What they want is people who will adhere to the diktats of capital, who will yield to the IMF, and who will let their countries be enslaved. That's why Nayib Bukele, that's why all of these various dictators in these third world countries are propped up by the United States. Like, why hasn't Saudi gone socialist? If Saudi goes socialist, if Saudi goes communist, ain't gonna be no more cheap gas. Well, gas ain't cheap anyways, but like all that shit, like you're gonna pay what you weigh. And one
Yeah.
of the diktats of imperialism is that America or any other imperialist country, you've got the EU imperialist bloc, they're never going to pay what they weigh. They don't want to, because if they did that, then there would be blood in the streets, and then you'd have
That's literally
revolution.
the
And
opposite of profit.
yeah, you'd have blood in the streets, and then you'd have revolution sweeping these countries. So all of this shit that Seth Harper's talking about, that Mexican journalists have been talking about bravely for years, that
Yeah.
comrades in the Congo talk about, that comrades in the Middle East are talking about. Like all of this shit ties back to the need of American imperialism to keep the money flowing, to keep these markets open, and people talking about like drugs. Like I read a book, I can't remember the name of it, but like it was an interview with a DEA agent who literally said, "Look, this is big business. Like, if they wanted to stop this shit, they could. But the CIA and all these other people that basically use drugs as weapons to continue to control and dominate these countries, they won't allow it. They will not allow it. You literally had CIA agents and Air Force officers flying black helicopters full of coke in the 80s to fund the Contras.
Yeah. And a lot of X ones too, with the X and the X hyphen in like enormous scare quotes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you go like a lot of these kids that join the military, like they grew up on Call of Duty. They grew up thinking that, oh, they're gonna do something good. Like especially like if you watch shit like Zero Dark 30,
Man.
Black Hawk Down, where the Americans got their ass whooped in Mogadishu, rightfully so, leave other people's countries alone. In Somalia, they still call that day Malenti Rangers, the day of the Rangers. Like you literally had motherfuckers being drugged through the streets because you were somewhere that you should never have been in the first place, meddling in business that you did not understand. So a lot of these kids they join the military and they get disillusioned. They're like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck are we doing? What are
Yeah.
we doing here? Like, what this is fucked up. So a lot of them they take the drugs, either trafficking them or using them. Like you literally had 109 soldiers died that were stationed at Fort Bragg in 2020 and 21, and now their families are pissed because like my kid, he joined the service to serve this country. I mean, he didn't know any better, so they say. And then they go there, and now next thing you know, mom in Dubuque, Iowa, is getting a call saying that little Jimmy's dropped dead, been found dead of a heroin overdose. Like a lot of these people don't even know that there's drugs. Like, what do you mean there's drugs on a U.S. military post? And
Yeah.
this stuff, I'm really really glad that Seth wrote this book, because like a lot of people are going to read this. Like for one, it has an attention getting title. What, a cartel at Fort Bragg? Oh my god! And then people are going to
Yeah.
read this stuff and they're going to be questioning, like, what the fuck? You've got veterans, people who were down there saying, man, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And another thing that stood out to me was the treatment of women soldiers at the base. Like it was basically, especially in like the special ops units. For one, they're almost entirely white. Like there are very very few black guys in Delta Force.
Hold
Very very few left.
hold that
Very
thought, man, because that's something that I think that not even from like a quote unquote like anti-racist perspective. I don't even mean it like that because like I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of sympathy for anyone of any particular tone or ethnicity who makes their way into an elite infantry team that's like near
that is true.
Delta.
Yeah.
But like hold that thought because I think it goes to the core of like what these units really are. So yeah, no. Keep I don't mean to interrupt you, but just I'm with you right there. These units are like they said, like 90 something percent white.
Can you imagine like how deep in the sunken place as a black person you'd have to be to like hang out with these, like put up with these racist jokes and shit like that? Like you got to be like Uncle Ruckus level shit. Like
It's
anyway,
yeah. I mean, it's like I'm just gonna go off on it because like it really stood out to me, sort of the absurdity and like, as a lieutenant colonel, I had to pass my fair share of physical tests and things. I'm a pretty big, strong guy. And I don't think there's any self-respecting white American out there who's going to tell you that here in the United States we lack for athletic black men. You know what I mean? like I think you're going to have a hard time taking a survey of, regardless of their level of racism, white Americans who will look at, their television.
Even Nixon said, even Nixon said back in the day, like Nixon was racist as fuck, but he was like
advanced,
he,
a
he,
true black belt.
he was like, at least the blacks are good in sports. I mean, if it wasn't for the blacks, we would not have all these Olympic medals. Like Muhammad Ali, he's a commie and a Muslim, but he won us a medal. But yeah, you're right. Like,
and so you think about like, okay, it's the U.S. Army. We're recruiting from, basically the same environments the NFL recruits from, down south, poor ghettos. Like, if we're talking about most of the black folks who make their way into the U.S. modern military machine, you mean to tell me none of that SEC speed, as they call it, trickled up into like the 82nd Airborne or whatever it is? You mean to tell me that they could not find Hispanic or black 18-year-old or 20-year-old who could pass those tests as well as the corn-fed white kids? Like come the fuck on.
And then you see that
scene.
Black people are still seen in this country as like inherently disloyal and treasonous.
Yes. Well, that's where I'm going with this. You see that to get into Delta Force, you got to sit in front of that panel of white folks. You got to sit in front of that panel of those who have come before, and they're just looking at you. They don't. Yeah. These are not psychiatrists. This is not an expert panel. They're not doing Rorschach, MK Ultra shit to figure out if you're stable or not. They're looking at your jawline and your melanin count to see if you'll look good on TV when you get out, and to see whether you can be trusted.
Oh no, they don't want you on TV. Like there was that one guy. One guy. If you remember,
the SEALs like to be on TV.
Yeah,
but they're looking for ideological coherence.
You remember that one psycho? That one psycho that claimed he killed Bin Laden, and I think he lives in Montana. I can't remember his last name. Something Irish, but some shit. But like he was in the documentary that was just released on Netflix about the situation. And like this guy, like you could just listen to this guy and tell, like, yeah, he's fucking unhinged. Like you remember the dude that was talking about he wanted to make those twinks for Kamala or whatever, his slaves. Like he was sort of, I can literally enslave you. When people are like, bro, you're fucked. Like, did you pick up other habits in Afghanistan besides drugs?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, but yeah, like like you have to be a certain type of unhinged. You have to be a certain type of, like you said, you have to like fit the image of the operator. Like you look at like Black Hawk Down is probably the most racist movie I've ever seen. Like it's basically they're talking. I mean, these were Army Rangers. Yeah, like these were Army Rangers, not like Delta Force, but still like same shit. A cracker with a gun is a cracker with a gun is a cracker with a gun. So like you had these brave, strong Army Rangers against the mindless Somali hordes, and like there's no interrogation. Like all these guys' personal lives. Like you see the guy in the helicopter, he's getting the shit beaten, kicked out of him, and shot at, and he's trying to grab a picture of his wife, and the Somalis keep kicking it away. But like there's no charity to the Somali people who this country had invaded. So. And then, like,
and many more of whom, if you're just going by body count, many more of whom died that day than Americans.
Yeah, but again, these are like they don't count people who are seen as the enemy. And I really like Seth Harp's comparison of these operators to like the rugged frontiersmen out of American myth. That they came and they saw and they conquered, and now they're hard, grizzled, rough, and that whole myth of the operator as like it's tied directly to settler colonialism, land theft, and bourgeois individualism. Like, oh, I don't need anybody. I can be dropped in country. Like it literally translates. It literally is a shortening of Indian country. I can literally be dropped in country and survive off eating rats and mice. Like, yeah, pretty much. The Comrade in chat described it's a reboot of 64 Zulu with better color. Pretty much. Like, that's essentially what it is.
there's a I mean, one thing that just rides throughout this entire book, and that, like, you know, this shit should be stapled up in front of every recruiting center in the nation, but it's like the war is dehumanizing for everyone.
Yeah.
Every side, you want to talk about good or bad, you want to talk about ancient or modern, like war is dehumanizing, and that's we can take that as a granted.
It
But
makes you
like,
into a monster. Some people are already monsters when they go over there. Some people join the military because they are monsters.
for sure. But you look at the like sort of the tempo, the sleep deprivation, the prescription drug use, the
Yeah.
internal culture
They
and
literally
everything.
hand out like with your induction into one of these units comes also a prescription for amphetamines.
Yeah, here's your
Like they
dex, here's your gun, let's get to it. And it's like they are speed running the dehumanization and intensifying it in like almost an
yeah.
intentional way.
Because
And this is one of
one thing those drugs do to you is, for one, they used to call them pep pills. Like they used to give them out
yep.
in Vietnam. See, they started with the shit in World War II. Everybody used them. The Japanese used them. The Nazis used them. They call them Pervitin. Like, you don't just take over half of Europe in a fucking year unless you're on something. And the Japanese, like, you don't fly a fucking plane into a battleship, or like charge a machine gun nest with a fucking sword unless you're on something, bro. So like these
The
drugs,
sword is
they
classic meth behavior. That even in the American milieu, you get methed up enough and you inevitably end up charging someone with a sword. The sword is the weapon of the meth head.
yeah, the sword is the weapon of the. You're right, because a guy in my shelter was the shelter that I used to work at. He was on meth, and he literally, like, out of trash, out of garbage, plastic, uh, rope and crap. He literally made a whole ass katana. He literally made a
That's
whole ass katana out of trash. But so yeah, the sword is definitely a weapon of the meth head. He also did some other things that I will not repeat here. But these drugs, they stunt your capacity for empathy. They
yep.
stunt your emotions.
They
Like you
make you
literally
paranoid. They
yeah,
make
you
you
literally
perceive threat.
yeah. Like it literally start like the book literally starts with it's been several chapters discussing, like, this guy, he was asking, like, is your girlfriend, is that girl with you, is she in the unit? And like he was taking apart the engine of a car, with a screwdriver. Then he ended up kicking in the door to his buddy's house, and his buddy shot him to death. But yeah, that's like these drugs. This shit makes you paranoid. It makes you paranoid. It makes you turn on your best friend. It makes you like. It makes you think your buddy's girlfriend is sent to spy on you. And yeah,
Yeah.
that type of paranoia turning on each other, that's also consistent to American imperialism. It's consistent to American settler colonialism. Like, we talk about the solidarity of whiteness, but the reality is that white folks actually really fucking hate each other. They hate us more, but they also, like, really, really fucking hate each other. Like, they do not trust each other unless it comes to fucking over black people. But after they get through fucking over black people or Arabs or whoever else is the enemy of the week, the subject of the 10 minutes hate, they go right back to fucking each other over. Like, I went to school with white people. I learned this shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fancier the school you go to, the crazier it gets. And like, you read any accounts or memoirs or even the dramatizations that you see sometimes here and there in pop culture of like the environment that the ruling elite in this country has been forged in, whatever you want to call modern times, 1850s through now, and that the CIA emerges out of all these real, muckety muck, waspy types making up Skull and Bones and Harvard bullshit. Like, they are some of the most internally and mutually abusive people you can hope to encounter towards their own kids, towards their own
Oh yeah.
friends, towards the
Like,
people they're in
people
sport
people
teams and
ask
practice.
like people ask, like, why do all of these white kids end up gravitating towards black culture? And it's because, like, we're fucking open. Like, I was bused to a pretty white school, and it was a decent education. Like, it helped me go to college, but like at the same time, like, I would not have liked to have grown up in that type of environment. But black people, on the other hand, like, we're open. We don't like bullshit. You stab you in the back. Like, that's a white people thing, and I think that's why a lot of younger white people fucked with the Black Lives Matter movement, because, like, people talk about cultural appropriation, and like, yeah, it's a horrible thing. for white people to be profiting off of black culture, but also at the same time, like going all the way back to jazz, going all the way back to Motown, um, black the advancement of the black revolutionary movement a lot has come a lot through our music. Like people fuck with our music. Like we're a global culture now. If we were playing Civ, we would have won the cultural victory as soon as Barry Courtney decided he wanted to found Motown. So um, I definitely think that
Barry Gordy as Civ leader is a great. That's like a if we were using AI, which we aren't, that would be you could make that
yeah.
like 3D render real good.
DSA, yeah, using AI is officially against DSA rules now.
Thank
But
goodness.
yeah, thank goodness. Like I just the thing with AI is that it's lazy. Like even using it to write. Like a lot of my teachers were old school. Like you literally sat, you wrote in your blue book, and yeah, your hand was cramped at the end, but Miss Such and Such was going to ensure that you knew how to write.
Yeah.
Meantime, you got kids coming up nowadays. I feel so sorry for them. Like you can just plug a prompt into a clanker, and now you've got a whole ass. Like it's just lazy. It's decreasing the literacy rate. Oh my god, I sound like a Republican, but like it's bad. Like you need some semblance of rigor in education. You have to, otherwise, and you ain't gonna learn shit. Because white people have no culture. Yeah, that's true. But so going back to the book, I also find it like because Seth is also he's also a veteran. He was a combat engineer in Iraq, and like he literally talks about like there was this like walled off area on his
Yeah.
base. Like you cannot go there if you were a regular soldier. That was where the Spicy Boys lived,
The
and
state within the state.
yeah, the state within the state. And then like at Fort Bragg, where their headquarters, like it's just you have and America takes care of its top tier killers very well. Like these motherfuckers are in there eating shrimp cocktail, filet mignon. They've got refrigerators stocked with whiskey and beer, and like so y'all sitting up drunk, taking all the drugs, eating up every fucking thing, getting 5 course meals, and then you hop on a fucking helicopter, go to Venezuela or Afghanistan or Iraq, and pop somebody, and then you come back and you finish it off with a fucking 5 course banquet. Like this is fucking trifling, man.
You know
Meantime,
what
you
it
got little,
you
then
know what
you've
it
got like
reminded me of? The
what?
physical description. You ever see pictures of what they call the gold plating in the NCAA for like I was about to say tier one, but it's D1, football or sometimes basketball, but the football programs are the real big ones. You go and you look at like go ahead, Google, bring it up on the screen if you want. I don't know how this thing works. The like you look at the workout rooms, the weight rooms for any nationally contending NCAA football program, and
Mm,
it to me it feels a lot like when they describe the command quarters and the team berths and things that the Fort Bragg guys have, where it's like the same design, the focus on the gym, the amount of money spent, and just the general sort of almost like Roman gladiatorial support of like these are our chosen warriors and we lavish them with the best that the empire has to offer, and like
yeah,
it's one of those.
and then when they're no longer useful and they're strung out on drugs, you're fucking kicked
Oh
out.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
you got to go
more
live in
life
a fucking home. You
expectancy.
got to go live in a fucking homeless shelter.
Exactly.
Like I mean, yeah, like at the shelter, I worked with a lot of homeless vets. Like one guy, he had been in Grenada. One guy, he had been in Panama. One guy was a former Marine. Like nobody fucked with him. Dude was old as dirt, but nobody fucked. Nobody fucked with old Unc. And I saw him get mad like one night, and it was fucking like 75-year-old man. I saw him get like genuinely mad. Somebody had left some stinky socks under his bed or something like that, and
Rude.
like yeah, I mean, I would have crashed out too, but like, it's scary. And like, they condition these guys to that type of rage. They're literally brainwashed. And like, even at 75 years old, your service ended 40 years ago. That fucking shit kicks in, and they basically take these young guys and they turn them into psychopaths.
Yeah. No, it's a I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn with a bunch of extremely influential parts of American society. I mean, sports is an easy example. Like I reached for, you see that that same physical manifestation of wealth for the underlings until it's time to take it away. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of, I think this is a culture, to the extent that we have a culture in this country, like a monoculture. Yeah, police training program on steroids. I can see the comments from, was that Forgive Me Deep Battle Daughter? Uh it which, as Lieutenant Colonel, I've had to study the deep battle text, so I salute the username, even if it is filthy communist Soviet origins. Uh I think it's a culture of psychopathy. I mean, I don't want to get all like hand wavy here, but like I think you see here a very, very pure, 180 proof distillation of a culture of like psychopathic individualism, and what that truly produces into the world when you take it all the way out to the top of the graph. And it's just like, yeah, like methed out death squads.
So just as an example, so you've got other Fort Bragg soldiers who died of an overdose. You got specialist Christian Gonzalez Pineda, a helicopter repairman originally from Honduras. That's another thing. Like a lot of immigrants in this country, they joined the military to get their citizenship, but that still will not stop Trump from deporting them. Like like a lot of the people that he's deported served this country, even in combat. Like he's deported Iraq and Afghanistan vets. They do not give a fuck. Private First Class Anthony Zavala, an infantryman from California who died from a cocktail of Benadryl, benzodiazepines, and fentanyl.
That's
Specialist,
rough.
Specialist Zachary Bracken, hey, Game of Thrones name, a Green Beret candidate from Maryland who died from, I don't like the Brackens, they're assholes, who died from a combination of alcohol and fentanyl.
Classic.
Sergeant First Class Michael Tardy, I wonder if he was always late, an infantryman from Arizona who died from the same mixture. Sergeant David Mazzullo, a signals intelligence analyst from New York who died from being Italian. I mean, an overdose of heroin and fentanyl. And Specialist Matthew Meadows, a parachute rigger from Texas who died from fentanyl alone. None of these deaths were made public.
You gotta, as a unit, you gotta not be happy to find out that the guy who's rigging your parachutes is like fented up. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die.
yeah.
Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. You know, that's actually like, I'm going to play that. That's actually like the marching song of a unit I think the 82nd. Hold on, because it is fucking hilarious. It started in World War II. I actually learned about it from watching Band of Brothers because I'm a World War II nerd. This is hilarious. You got to hear this.
He was just a rookie trooper, and he surely shook with pride. He checked on his equipment and made sure his pack was tight. He had to sit and listen to those awful engines roar. You ain't gonna jump no more. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. Is everybody happy? Cried the sergeant looking up. Our hero feebly answered yes, and then they stood him up. He jumped into the icy blast, his static line and hook, and he ain't gonna jump no more. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die.
Boys would sing this in the mess hall
A hell of a
when
way.
I was merely a regular colonel.
We should sing. This is the official anthem of Liberation Caucus.
He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. He counted long, he counted loud, he waited for the shock. He felt the wind, he felt the cold, he felt the awful drop. The silk from his reserves spilled out and wrapped around his legs, and he ain't gonna
Doesn't
jump
even rhyme.
more. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. The riser swung around his neck, connectors cracked his dome. Suspension lines were tied in knots around his skinny bones. The canopy became his shroud, he hurtled to the ground. And he ain't gonna jump no more.
Wait, can you pause
Glory, glory, what a hell of a way.
it? Does this mark the first time in American culture that someone refers to the head as the dome? And is it in fact coming from white people?
Yeah, because during World War II, these units were segregated. So basically, I mean, there were black combat units in Europe. Patton actually was really, really fond of us. And like one thing that he did, this is hilarious during the Battle of the Bulge, because the Germans kept they had like this thing, the SS. They would steal American uniforms from dead bodies, and they would like wear our uniforms to sneak behind our lines and like raise hell, burn up shit, assassinate officers. So they literally, he literally put black troops on the checkpoints and instructed them to shoot anybody white that does not speak good English. Like, imagine a German dude rolling up to your checkpoint. You ask him a pop culture question. Like, do you know who Mickey Mantle is? Mickey Mantle, he is baseball, yeah? Very
Lamb.
good. Very good. Like that guy from Band of Brothers, like they captured the German, and he's like, "Oh, Betty Boop, what a dish! Steamboat Willie, toot toot. What I say, can you see?" So yeah, you would get your ass shot. It was hilarious. Anyways, I don't think we want to. I don't think our. Do we want to finish the song? Do you want to hear like how you die in a parachute?
Well, it seems like basically everything that could go wrong in a jump is happening to our, quote unquote
Happy-
hero within the story here. And
happening
back in the
to
day,
you.
my understanding was parachute technology wasn't particularly reliable, even if your
Yeah.
rigger wasn't using fentanyl.
Can you imagine like how fucking scary it must have been to be the first black guy in one of these units? Like, yeah, my rigger is from Alabama. Is he going to fuck me over, or is he somewhat of a professional?
Yeah.
The next part is the best.
Die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. For days he lived and loved and laughed, kept running through his mind. He thought about the girl back home, the one he left behind. He thought about the medicos and wondered what they'd find. And he ain't gonna jump no more. Glory, glory.
At least that one rhymes all right.
Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. The ambulance was on the spot, the jeeps were running wild. The medics jumped and screamed with glee, rolled up their sleeves and smiled. For it had been a week or more since last the shoe had failed. And he ain't gonna jump no more. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more. Zoom, 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 zoom. He hit the ground, the sound was flat, his blood went spurting high. His comrades, they were heard to say, a hell of a way to die. He lay the rolling ground in the welter of his gore, and he ain't gonna jump no more. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump no more. There was blood upon the right. There were brains upon the shoot. Intestines were a-dangling from his paratrooper suit. He was a mess, they picked him up and poured him from his boots, and
I got to give him credit for a dangling.
So yeah, TLDR, don't join the paratroopers.
Yeah, I think isn't the
so
slogan or the motto still "so that others may live" or something?
I don't know. I wasn't in the military. You tell me,
Yes,
Lieutenant Colonel.
Oh, they keep changing them around. We're not allowed to have the bases named after real American heroes anymore.
The 82nd Airborne has a chorus that regularly sings a song for events on Fort Bragg. Yeah, you know what? I think Fort Bragg is built on like some type of mass graveyard or something like that. Like that is just a place of death. Like something had to have happened back there, like back way in the pre-colonial era. Like maybe there was a major battle between indigenous tribes because that place is just cursed.
Yeah, as bad ley lines there. Okay, it's the para-rescue men or the para-rescue jumpers has us what is it? The motto, these things we do that others may live.
Oh,
Uh
how sweet.
yeah, but it certainly embraces the fact that jumping out of a plane with a bunch of gear on is not conducive to your actuarial outcome being extended.
But yeah. So yeah. And then another thing that I really appreciate him covering in his books, like not only are people like dying by the dozens at this base, and this shit is still ongoing, by the way. Not only are people dying by the dozens at Fort Bragg, but like the military is also covering this shit up. Like, like they'll literally tell you, "Oh, your son died in his barracks." Meantime, yeah, he died from fentanyl. Like because like again, it's propaganda. Like the they tell us from conditioning, from birth, that like the United States military are the baddest motherfuckers, the most professional motherfuckers. Like you're supposed to see as a good American a guy in a uniform and think that, oh, he's going to help me cross the street. He's going to be a nice guy, a decent guy,
He's the
a
hero.
stand-up guy. Yeah, a stand-up guy, an American fucking hero. And then like the reality is that man, this guy's fucking selling coke. Like, and a lot of people realize that they go in the military and they're like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want in my uniform. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like even the cops will let you go. Like at Fort Bragg, the in Fayetteville, and all these other neighboring areas. Like if you're in Delta Force or one of these other high dollar spicy boy units, you can get arrested for like fucking driving drunk, and the judge just let you go and thank you for your service.
They get off on rape and murder charge. Never mind what they
Yeah.
did overseas against other quote unquote American citizens. They get away on like capital offenses.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So you talk about white privilege. Now we've got green privilege. Like the army will literally tell you, your kid's dead. Here, go tie ribbons on trees. He was killed by another soldier who sold him drugs or just beat him to fucking death in the barracks, and that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like if there's one, and like every older veteran that I've talked to, like they literally say, yeah, I tell these young guys coming up, don't go over there, don't do that, especially if they're black. Like yeah, don't go over there, man. Don't fight the white man's war for him. Like you're gonna go through some shit. And like they speak from experience. Like this shit is like inherently fucked up. There's not that many Vietnam vets around, but those anymore. Like when I was like maybe 20 years ago, they were everywhere. Now, Iraq vets, like the guys that went over in 03 and 04, they're getting to be the age that Vietnam vets were 20 years ago.
Right.
And like I used to, yeah. You talk to those guys, and they're like, they are bitter as fuck. And they have every reason to be. Like that was a fucked up imperialist war. But like just growing up around those guys, meeting them at the park, at restaurants and stuff like that. Yeah, man, we went through some shit over there. And like it's gonna be really interesting because they're already HBO is already in the process of making a series about this. But and of course Generation Kill is a thing. All those guys ended up fucked up too.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think the sergeant Sixta, the guy that's like, Marines kill on one. Yeah, he's a fucking pedo. Like he's in fucking jail right now. And so yeah, when they started like making like when Iraq and Afghanistan started like entering American pop culture consciousness, like Vietnam did in the '80s and early '90s, um, it's gonna be wild.
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, and that's one thing that I think this book it touches on, and it's interesting to see it now become part of pop. Like, I'll be very interested to see what the adaptation looks like because, I mean, at the risk of stating the obvious, it's hard for me to imagine HBO or any equivalent, well capitalized media enterprise.
Oh, they're gonna chop it up. They're gonna turn it into like some type of soppy buddy comedy or something. Or
Yeah, or even
or
just
like
shrink
I
the scope down. Like
yeah.
it's one thing to talk about these soldiers
And
killing each other.
Seth, if I recall correctly, Seth is like the executive producer on this. So I don't think he'll let them fuck his shit up.
But will there be room to talk about how JSOC as a structural entity parallels things like the Safari Club as the post church committee privatization of the deep state? Like, are they going to put that in the series?
Probably not.
Because to me that was, and I don't know how many folks in the chat have read the book. I don't know if we're trying to sell units here or not for Seth, but like for me, the book was worth the price of admission. The moment because I like the parapolitics stuff. I listen to my podcasts. I get noided out, but like I was unaware of JSOC's origins as part of that mid 70s, early 80s shift
Yeah.
away from the traditional three letters into a what became pre 9/11 the sort of like international public private more distributed sort of wet work arm of American empire.
And
And
like
like
Bush's dad, like does like George H.W. Bush, he does not get the amount of smoke that he deserves. Like
maybe the defining villain of the American 20th century. And I know
yeah,
about the Dulles, I know about presidents
that
and shit. I mean, he was a president, but when you look at what he did as VP, head of CIA, a senator, and for him the presidency was basically a step away from real power. Like
yeah.
yeah, folks listening,
He was the quintessential power behind the throne for like 30 years.
minimum.
Like
And
when
yeah,
those fuck boys, like when those dictators and shit came up here, they all talked to Poppy Bush. They didn't talk to Ford. They didn't talk to Carter. They didn't talk to Reagan because Reagan. And that's another thing. Like
he
Reagan
was too
knew
busy
what he was.
talking to himself.
Yeah, like Reagan was too busy talking to himself. But like I think that Reagan played that old man with Alzheimer's role. Now Biden objectively has that shit, but like I think Reagan, like just reading his diary, like he knew what the fuck he was doing. Um, but Biden was genuinely a fucking vegetable. But like he Poppy Bush was the power behind the throne. Like that family is, like you said, probably the quintessential bad guys, the quintessential villains. Like that
You know
whole
about
Ivy.
Prescott trying to basically overthrow the US government,
Oh yeah, the business plan, and also
the
dealing with
business.
the Nazis, also dealing with
Yeah,
the fucking Nazis, IG Farben. But
deep, deep in there.
yeah, Smedley Butler actually snitched on all of them. I'm surprised they didn't have him killed. But like, yeah, he literally and nobody listened to him. Like Smedley was like, "Hey, I need to go to Congress. Like these people are literally trying to coup FDR and install me as dictator. Like you need to do something about that." And nobody did anything about that. Probably because half of Congress was in on it.
Yeah, they were ready for that check. Do you think there was ever a moment when old Prescott was sitting in his drawing room, hand clenched to the almost cracking point of the whiskey glass, and he said, "And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that smeddling kid."
Jesus Christ. But yeah, he's still like I doubt it. I doubt it. Like like one thing that the ruling class is good at is taking at least what appears to be an L as long as they
Yeah,
maintain their grip. As long as they maintain their grip. That's what I think a lot of leftists have the leftists have like we have this whole zero sum analysis. Even a lot of people on the DSA left, they're like, "Oh my God, we lost on this resolution." Oh, rah 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 rah. But like, it's the ruling class. They have a different sense of time, and they see the big picture, and they think for the long term. They think strategically. The left, on the other hand, thinks tactically. Whereas the ruling
At
class, the
best,
bourgeoisie, like
I
these
think
people
that
that I,
gives a lot of credit.
yeah, they're like, yeah. I mean, they're still chaotic, but like the old heads, like the poppy bushers, they think like long term. They think strategic. They think like, okay, where are we going to be 100 years from now? Where are we going to be 50 years from now? Whereas a lot of leftists, it's like little kids. They just think, okay, candy now. Mommy took candy away. Give candy back and go to school tomorrow. Like, and that's why we consistently take L's. We just get distracted by shiny shit. Zoran, AOC, now this guy who literally was a Blackwater contractor, Graham Plattner out of Maine. Like,
Spooky.
um, yeah, we can't keep getting. And you know, like I initially gave him some grace, but then like once I realized, well, first of all, like why is this brand new guy? Like, there's a lot of progressive black people, a lot of progressive black women that are out there that DSA and Bernie could be like intervening with, giving some shine. But like, why are you gonna go up there and why are you gonna get the right? Why are you gonna go up there and get the white dude with the long beard that served in fucking Iraq? Like, he literally volunteered to go over there, and that needs to be dealt with. Like, and I'm not even like the most ultra left. Like, I'm not like if I see you in uniform, I'm going to spit on you because like I don't know you. I don't know what you're like. I'm not like fucking that Australian who shall not be named. Um, like I have some semblance. I think about organizing. He just thinks about fucking spite. But like yeah, like bro, you literally signed up to take your ass back over there after you've already been over there as a military contractor, probably the most evil
Money.
profession.
Literally just the check.
Yeah, for money. Like you went over there, you were a hired fucking killer, bro. Like, yeah, you need to give like while you're out there talking about rich bad, rich bad. Like you need to go like you need to actually introspect and think about like and make amends to the lives that you ruined because I know you killed people over there, man. I know you killed people over there. Everybody knows you did something over there that haunts you at night in your dreams. Like you've got somebody, you've got some ghosts, and you need to talk about those. Like you have a platform now. Bernie helped give you a platform now. So you need to talk about that. Your first goal as an American who claims to be a socialist is to reckon with American imperialism, especially if you spend time as a fucking PMC. Otherwise, like we cannot keep letting these white dudes off or anybody that actively served American imperialism. We cannot keep letting these dudes off and then acting surprised when they crash out and do stupid shit.
Yeah. It's
Same thing with John Fetterman. The left helped build that guy. The white left helped build up John Fetterman, and now they're like, "Oh my God, he's bad. Yeah." Y'all helped. Like, there are signs and symbols. My mom always used to say, "Signs and symbols for a conscious mind." This guy chased a black dude when he was mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania, I believe. He chased a black person with a shotgun, like on some Klan shit, like on some Ahmed
yeah.
Aubrey shit. He chased a black
That's
person
a
like,
pretty tough image to move away from.
yeah, and y'all didn't like. I don't know. These people just don't believe black people. Y'all keep platforming and supporting these fucking white folks, and then when they fuck you over, when they fuck white people over, then y'all act, oh my God, he's like, bro. Where were you? Why aren't you listen? Why didn't you listen to us? That's why I don't have a lot of sympathy for these types of people. Y'all keep doing this shit over and over and over and over again, and it never produces any different results than Bernie or Fetterman and now Plattner.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I don't want to act like there's no such thing as a class traitor in the world because we know full well the world is full of people doing good work against whatever their
you're
parents taught them.
you're only a traitor though if you like you're only a traitor if you are seen by the enemy as such.
Right.
Like
Well,
if you're
but that's
still
where I'm going is like That's
Yeah.
a bar you have to hit. That's something you have to actually work at
You
and
have
have
to
a
actually
real track record on.
you have to actually do some type of work and make some type of amends for the harm that the class or the people that you're defecting from. Like you have to actually hurt the enemy. You cannot just get up on a stage and say nice, funny words or nice, sappy words. Like no, it's too late for that. Genocide is going on. You have people literally being snatched off the street. Like if an ICE agent wanted to come in out of the cold and expose some shit. Like, what damage did you do to the people that you used to work for? That would be my first question. I don't want to hear your words. Words are wind. Like, I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck what you have to say. Show me what you've done. What have you brought the movement? What have you done to help keep our keep our comrades safe? That's what I want to hear. I don't. I fuck you and your words. I don't want to hear that shit because anybody can talk.
Well, you go to a DSA meeting, you'd be surprised how what would the word be for not illiterate, but like, and I don't want to say nonverbal because that's actually a medical distinction, and there are plenty of folks who are nonverbal. But like, what do you call it when someone just does not know how to speak in a way that conveys ideas clearly to their ostensible friends and comrades?
Mealy mouthed.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm like a walking thesaurus, aren't I?
that's pretty
So
good.
so
But
yeah,
yeah, not everybody can talk, but even if you can, that doesn't mean anything.
it's all right. You and I talk enough for everybody.
We got it held down. Can we talk about, speaking of talk, and there was a comment before and you mentioned it earlier. Can we talk about the cops for a minute? Can I expound on uh the intersection spoken and unspoken of the police with the book that we're online about here?
Go wild.
All right. So I was doing some thinking as I am wont to do, and I was thinking about the term that you see usually thrown around in bad faith by imperial media. People talk about police actions. Oh, it was a police action in Korea. It was a police action in this or that country that Congress never officially declared war on. And like, I think there's a certain sort of first level reaction that we as communists have to that, where it's like, no, like you sent the military in, like this was a war, this was an attack. You're being not merely mealy mouth, but euphemistic and obfuscatory here. You're obfuscating. But something that this book had me thinking about is the fact that like what what Delta Force was doing in West Asia and what they do around the world, but what they were doing in, big picture Iraq and Afghanistan and other areas, it's hard looking at, just to pick the most current example, the like Ukraine Russia war. It's hard for me to call what Delta Force was up to war fighting, or like in any real sense. It was more like policing, and it was more like a certain vision of and a certain representation of policing that you see in special forces modeled police units here in America, where it's like, people talk about the jump out boys or the riders, the plainclothes, the DTs, whatever you want to call them, but it's like 3 4 guys with beards and tattoos in a car at night, rolling up on some variation of either random people, and we know what demographics they're going after, but like random residents within the given target neighborhood, or identified quote unquote medium to high value targets, people they believe to be in a gang, people who maybe are in a gang, people who for whatever reason have run afoul of bourgeois law, and they jump out on it. And it's like, yes, I recognize that this is not Duterte's Philippines. The police do not currently, as a matter of routine, just commit group murder in the streets of New York, Baltimore, LA. Not saying it won't ever happen, not saying it hasn't happened here and there. I recognize that the rules of engagement are different, but I think there's a lot more overlap with the like intelligence gathering, the relative distribution of power, the tactics, the mindset of the perpetrators involved with policing than there is with like what you would call a real war. Like the reason these guys are putting up such huge body counts and why the fatality numbers, not counting here at Fort Bragg due to, intra-unit violence and drugs, but the actual battlefield, I hate to use the video game term, but the Delta Force KD ratio is crazy. it doesn't look like anything you would see in a real quote unquote war. You look
because
at,
they're going because the people that they're killing are not armed.
in many
They're literally,
cases, or if
they're
they,
literally showing up. Like their memo is literally to just like hop in a fucking black helicopter, rappel down, go into a house, kill every male over the age of 14, and then leave.
yes. And even in the situations where they're going after folks who, in one way or another, are armed, they go in with such a disproportionate stacking of the deck in terms of, like some low to mid level Taliban cell doesn't have air support, doesn't have artillery, doesn't have ISAR, doesn't have drones of any size or scale,
Well,
isn't
they do
rocking
now because they do now because they took all the shit the Americans left.
that. Yeah, well, to the victor goes the spoils. But like, you get what I'm saying, that like the even in situations where you could make some vague argument that this is some type of soldier, or as they call combatant, who they're going after, it's not any kind of parallel quote unquote fair fight. It's not tanks on tanks, it's not trench on trench, it's not unit on unit. It's completely disproportionate. They're outnumbered, outgunned, etc. And so, you put up these crazy KD numbers, and it's the same way. The cops hop out on people here in the US who sometimes have guns, who sometimes have done crimes. That does happen. But like, if and when the cops hop out on those people, they do so with planning, advance notice, way more cops than so-called perpetrators, SWAT team tactics, etc.,
It's like
modeled
a
on.
reactionary. It's like a reactionary application of Maoist military tactics.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, like 10 on yeah,
It's
like Mao taught us. Like Mao taught us.
hit them where they're weak.
We win by stacking up 5-on-1. Like
Yeah.
if there's 20 cops that were if there's 20 cops or 20 ops, we're rolling up with 200. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and that mentality and the ability to do so as a matter of like structure and routine, like there's a good page in the book where Hart basically is like, he just straight up says the purpose of these units and of this approach is to liquidate the fighting age male population of a demographic or ethnic group that opposes or is perceived to oppose US empire.
You
That
know,
this is a
that's
liquidation.
the only way that you could really defeat a protracted people's war is to drain the sea. Like Mao said that the gorilla swims in the sea of the
Is the
masses.
fish.
So by draining the sea, like the Peruvians, they were taught by their counterinsurgency experts from the United States. They were taught that look, you're fighting Maoists. When you fight Maoists, what they do is they cling really, really, really close to the people. So you can do a few things. You can do counterinsurgency, like soft counterinsurgency, like if there's legitimate grievances, which there always are. Um, say land reform. Okay, you know what? Give them land reform. Do you want Maoist guerrillas storming into your capital and massacring everybody? Or do you want like happy peasants? Make the peasants happy and you drain the grievances which make the Maoists successful. Or they also do this type of soft counterinsurgency in the United States. Have you noticed, for example, whenever there's a riot, here comes Urban League, Salvation Army, Goodwill, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, the and next thing you know, oh look, here's a shiny new community center. Here's
The
Job Corps.
NGO option.
Yeah, the NGO option. And that is, to a lot of people, that's a lot more minimal than the old school route of just going in and shooting every fucking body, because what that does is feed the guerrillas. But
Right.
so the other option is to drain the sea. This is what they did in Peru. Like a lot of people, they ended up in shanty towns outside of Lima, like Raucana, which the Shining Path also organized. Well, El Partido Comunista del Pueblo. Lo siento, amigos gonzaloistas. Pero, um, anyways, yeah, I just randomly start speaking Spanish. Anyways, so what the Fujimori government did was like, you know what, we're going to go in, we're going to drive these people out of these villages, out of these highlands, and make them go live in the shanty towns, make them live by us. And they tried that. And they also would engage in massacres. Now, look at Marca, that was all PCP. But like the government would literally dress up like guerrillas and would go in and just massacre, like kill 50 people, and then
Yeah.
like leave a shining path flag or leave some propaganda or something like that. And then you had the masses hating them. Then they would also organize. The government would also organize rondas, basically counterinsurgency paramilitary groups. Pedro Castillo, the president of Peru, who was removed, he was a member of one of these rondas in his youth. So there's a lot of ways that they use to smash the counterinsurgency, but draining the sea, basically going in and ensuring that the guerrillas have no recruits. Yeah, that's why also a lot of in Nepal and India, a lot of the guerrilla comrades are women because they've killed all the guys, and
Yeah.
also because our theory teaches us that women hold up half the sky and women are as capable as fighters as men. But yeah, so there's a lot of ways that they use to try to destroy us.
It's so, I don't want to say funny. It's a coincidence that you mentioned the phrase "drain the sea" because over the course of the past 3 days, I did my second pass, kind of binge read, um, my brain, the Jakarta Method,
Oh yeah,
and I read it a while back, some years back, when I was myself a little less steeped in some of the theory and crap that I am now. And so reading it a second time, there were some things I took issue with, but there literally is a section where, in quotes, he says, drain the sea. And then he goes on to describe, and in this particular case, he's talking about Guatemala. I won't repeat literally everything you just said, but it's basically word for word. And they're like, on paper memos and quotes from the sort of high and mid-tier counterinsurgent experts working off the same American and or Brazilian led playbook as in Peru. And yeah, they're basically like, you have to be willing to basically kill 1 in 5 as even just to start if you're going to deny the guerrilla sort of freedom of operation, and that's exactly what they did. And it's gross when you start going far enough back, because it's like we blame all this on America, and in the post World War II world, it's usually safe to do so. But you look at like the real early, in the modern era, counter guerrilla insurgency stuff, and it's all the British. It's in Kenya, and the Malay emergency, quote unquote, where they literally are just like, fuck it, we'll do forced population transfer and concentration camp,
yeah.
and just
Vietnam.
basically
They did the same thing in Vietnam. They
they
were
did
called strategic hamlets.
it. Yes, yes, but we got that from the Brits, and it's
Yep.
like, just like so much of the rest of our quote unquote imperial technology in the like
Yeah.
big academic use of that technology word. It's
even
like,
even here, like you get shot with a rubber bullet in the United States, you have the Brits to thank for that. They developed them for use against the term is not the technical term is baton round, but they literally
yeah.
developed those to use against the Irish. Yeah, there's a song about it. There's a song about everything. But yeah,
I
there's literally a song that was there's literally an Irish folk song about rubber bullets.
That, you should drop for us, because that one I did not know, and I try to keep up on the history of policing side of this, but yeah, sooner or later they had to
One
test
second.
it out on the Irish.
Yeah, it was basically like Ireland was basically like their tutorial.
Yeah. Yeah, it was their like starting level, where it's like the narrator is like, here you are at the beginning, press A to jump. That was them figuring it all out.
It's for the ladies, catch them in the sea as can. 3 inches wide, 6 inches long, take it home to your old man. It's an instrument of torture to break your legs in two. It'll stop you feeling lonely, but leave you black and blue. When you've had your fill of CS gas behind the barricade.
This is much better than the fucking gory paratrooper song.
Well, because the Irish have an actual folk music tradition.
Yeah.
and served your time with half bricks, you've learnt a brand new trade. Aye, you're fighting for your freedom, the dignity of man. Look out for rubber bullets, it's the army's latest plan. Rubber bullets for the ladies, catch them in the CS can. 3 inches wide, 6 inches long, take it home to your old man. It's an instrument of torture to break your legs in two. It'll stop you feeling lonely, but leave you black and blue. And if your army's going hungry, curfew needn't break your heart. The army solved your problem, you can bake a rubber tart. When you're under house arrest and your nerves are getting frayed, the prescription's rubber bullets fired from underneath the bed. Rubber bullets for the ladies, catch them in the CS can. 3 inches wide, 6 inches long, take it home to your old man. It's an instrument of torture to break your legs in two. It'll stop you feeling lonely, but leave you black and blue. Aye, and don't forget
Is the
way
Can you
code.
pause it? Is the chorus repeatedly making a dildo joke?
Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't. I
You
wasn't
gotta love
expecting that.
You gotta love the Irish.
A bullet
From-
to a 90 could leave you obsolete. I and watchmen stepping off the curb and being quite sincere. A bullet in the proper place could leave you feeling queer. Rubber bullets for the ladies, catch them in the CS can. 3 inches wide, 6 inches long, take it home to your old man. It's an instrument of torture to break your legs in two. It'll stop you feeling lonely, but leave you black and blue. And when the soldier says he loves you behind the barricade, look out for rubber bullets, and grab his red cockade. Cause the bullet's meant to stun you, but be careful how you bend. If it breaks a leg or two, the army's sure to comprehend. Rubber bullets for the ladies, catch them in the CS can. 3 inches wide, 6 inches long, take it home to your old man. It's an instrument of torture to break your legs in two. It'll stop you feeling lonely, but leave you black and blue.
Yes, an anti-imperialist song that is also repeated allusions to self-stimulation.
Yeah.
You gotta love the
But
Irish, man.
yeah, receptive self-stimulation, not to flog one's hog, but to yeah.
All
I
right,
just didn't
let's
see that
not.
coming from such a Catholic influenced environment, but I suppose that's a shallow
Everybody
world.
likes sex.
Yeah.
Anyways, self-sex and other sex. Anyways, so have you seen this? Our trans comrades will not be able to own guns if Trump has his way. They're using the horrible shooting in Minneapolis as by this, like, and this is another thing, like the ONA, like, people need to, like, that is some weird, fucked up, whacked out shit. The Order of the
The
Nine Angles. You
internet,
ever heard of?
say that again. Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
am
They were
not
one of these people.
I was never a big like Satanist guy, either in terms of my own interest or just like even looking into how it is
It's
used
white
and
edgelord
misused for
shit.
power.
It's
But
white
it's
edgelord shit.
Say that again.
It's white edgelord shit. Anton LaVey was like literally
Yeah,
a fascist.
yeah. And like it's one of those things like, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but I feel like it's also just it's one of those things that growing up loosely American Jewish kind of just inured me to, because it's like there's nothing scandalous about it if you're not like an American Christian, if that makes sense. Like we're accused of being the devil all the time, like historically at least. So it's like what it just never really resonated with me even as like edgy. But the direction that they've taken it in now with the like, I think it's a psyop. I'll say it. I don't care. I think the internet by and large is a psyop. Hello everybody. And like this to me feels like a, refined stochastic terror psyop. Just, why bother with a stay behind army when you can psychologically abuse people into doing a train bombing for you?
Yeah, it's true. Like that's why, like these things, like you remember at the beginning of this year, there was There were two. You had a vehicle ramming attack in New Orleans, and then there was a guy blew up a Cybertruck outside of a Trump
Trump
hotel
Hotel or Trump
in
building.
Vegas. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, it
people
was
were
both
talking about
like on New Year's.
and both of these guys had been at Fort Bragg,
Yes.
and yeah, they're definitely doing some. I mean,
Did you see
the
the
United
quote? Did you see the quote from the Cybertruck guy's surviving relative? I forget if it was his father or his uncle, but he was basically like, I know this is faking somehow because like my boy went through Fort Bragg and he can blow up a car way better than that. Like the quote unquote bomb or incendiary device in the car was like extremely janky and bootleg. It was like a bunch of fireworks kind of stapled together or whatever. And it like it didn't explode. Like most of the damage was just to the vehicle. And then like obviously a big hunk of lithium catches fire, you're gonna have a little issue there. But it
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
like
like that's why like when people were burning those fucking Waymos in L.A. during
yeah,
the during the uprising, people were like people just like hunkered around them, and like you had people standing back saying, "Man, you better get the fuck away from that thing. You're gonna end up with cancer.
yeah,
Or you're
yeah,
gonna be
no,
blown
it
the fuck
becomes
up."
more of a chemical hazard than like an explosive one. But yeah, just the idea of someone being like, Uncle Sam does bombs better than that. Like if my guy had really wanted to do some shit, it would have gone down different. And I just think that's such a very funny and American way to call false flag on what appears to be some kind of spooky operation, you know?
Yeah, and I definitely think that like these guys that Seth wrote about, um, like in the coming 2 or 3 or 4 decades, like these people are going to be the enemy. Like these are the people that we're going to have to be out fighting. These are the people that we're going to have to deal with. Because a lot of these guys they end up in shit like the Peanut Butter Boys, the Black and Yellow Squad. God knows how many of them joined that whole January 6th debacle. Um,
You I mean, I don't know how much YouTube you hang out on anymore, but there is a robust and frightening uh like and I'll use the term relatively loosely here because I'm not up on all my org charts, but like special forces and or fairly elite infantry turned like kind of Turner Diaries influencer YouTube milieu. That is like a thing I have seen and like you can end up there like basically anytime you are looking at anything on YouTube about firearms, just like if you want to learn how a pistol works or you want to learn like where's a gun range near you, any of that stuff, the algorithm will give you to one or more of these guys who talk openly about being like, I was 82nd this, I was JSOC that, I did these tours, that, this, and the other thing. And here's why you got to be ready to wage guerrilla warfare against insert racial slur here. And like the comment sections are full of people talking about the Austrian painter and
how many
the
of those guys? How many of those guys are actually like legit though?
the ones I have seen are legit enough that as someone who was not in the military myself, despite my the title is honorary, I received it for various services rendered to the forces and everything. It's all off the books. But like as someone who's not in the military, I don't want to tell you I'm the arbiter of like who is or isn't fake. But like the stuff that these guys talk about in in the cases I have seen, it's good enough that it's doing what it needs to do. Like these are people talking about the history of counterinsurgency and how to become an insurgent, referencing the same titles I've read, and like in many cases drawing on like Mao and Che and other completely ideologically opposed experiences to tell you how to go live in the woods of Tennessee or Alaska or whatever and like prepare for when the US government can't protect the white man anymore. And they I don't know, they don't feel fake to me for whatever that's worth. And the advice they're giving out to me seems worryingly useful. They talk about communications and sustainment and cell structure and like yeah it I yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this besides the fact to say that like I think something like 09A or what you see here in the news or the fact that you have former Fort Bragg guys blowing themselves or others up in what appear to be quote unquote lone wolf attacks. I think you're right, and there's a broad, multi-pronged approach by the powers that be to turn these guys inward.
Yeah, definitely agree. But
Did that make sense by
long,
the end of it?
yeah. So long story short, we gotta get our shit together.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we ain't gonna make it. I keep telling people it's like these people are serious. Like you mentioned that there's literally people all over the internet talking about like how to kill communists, how to do this, how to target. Like every time you see a news article about attack on our Latino comrades who are migrants. Like you see them in the, I voted for this. I voted for this. Like they're literally talking about deporting Puerto Ricans and their American citizens.
yeah,
Like this is fucking racialized war. That's what this is. And if
yeah.
we fail, DSA, every other organization, if we fail to treat this as such, we're not going to make it. So to ensure that we make it, it's important that we study our enemies and their weaknesses. Because I would consider huge amounts of soldiers involved in ill disciplined activities like drug trafficking and killing each other and selling drugs to each other and other types of fun and amusing activities. Like I would definitely consider that a weakness on their part. So our job as revolutionaries is to figure out like how can we exploit this either for propaganda purposes or like these people are not fucking heroes or like yeah. So that's what I think if we should take away from this. I highly advise everybody who considers themselves a leftist and organizer to read this book because again, being a dialectical materialist, being a historical materialist, all this stuff has its roots somewhere else.
The boomerang is real tight on this one, whether you are a unit wife who then, suffers at the hands of your boyfriend, husband, ex, etc., whether you are a community member in the base area, or whether you are just a quote unquote regular American trying to get through your day. Uh, yeah, these folks, they don't just leave when the quote unquote real war ends.
Yep.
They stick around.
They're
Those
gonna
folks
be with us forever and ever as long as America exists. But thanks for coming on, comrade.
always a pleasure.
But
The
anyways,
lieutenant colonel has various maps and miniatures to attend to, but
all
the
right.
simulations, they don't mind themselves.
But thanks for coming on again, comrade. You're fucking right. You're a fucking bit. But yeah. Tune in for the Gang of Four tomorrow. What are we going to be talking about? We haven't decided on that yet. We make democratic centralist decisions. But yeah, pick up the Fort Bragg cartel and talk about it with your comrades and friends. I'm Black Red Guard, and this is the. I just saw your fucking. I just saw your fucking description. Bro, you're nuts. Anyways, all power to the people, no power to the lieutenant colonel.
See you soon.
I hope not in person. Bye.